Britain's housing market has reached a breaking point. Homes cost more than ever. Renting has become the norm for millions.
New figures suggest more than 1/3 of young people are spending much higher proportions of their income on rent.
And year after year, governments fail to deliver the number of houses we actually need. Add in rapid population growth and continued migration, and the shortage only deepens. In the background, global giants like BlackRock and even UK institutions like Lloyds Bank have moved in, treating housing as a long-term investment. The result is a market increasingly shaped not by local buyers, but by powerful institutions with billions to spend. I'm looking to investigate how big institutions, global investors, and even government policies are shaping the UK housing market today, and what that really means for first-time buyers and investors. Most people have heard of the name BlackRock, but few actually know what they do. Some even describe them as the most influential and maybe the most dangerous company in the world.
BlackRock is an extremely dangerous company.
Everything, Soros, State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock, they're pretty much running everything.
Yeah.
BlackRock is the biggest asset manager on the planet. They look after more than $10 trillion worth of assets. That's 3 times the size of the UK's economy. They manage money for governments, pension funds, and everyday investors. But because of that size, they don't just invest, they shape the markets, influence government decisions, and decide where capital flows. And now they're taking a serious interest in UK housing. But they're not the only giants that are doing this. Even Lloyds Banking Group, the UK's largest retail bank, has quietly started buying up homes to rent out. This is a full-scale institutional invasion. When the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, and a UK banking titan like Lloyds, with its pledge of £50 billion, are aggressively buying up thousands of homes, they aren't just entering the market, they are systematically weaponizing it. They are charged by specific government policies like the National Planning Policy Framework, which actively promotes build-to-rent developments, with streamlined planning permissions and favourable financing designed exclusively for large-scale institutional players. But here's the devastating truth. When BlackRock builds a new block, those apartments are never for sale. They are instantly channeled into their own rental portfolios. This isn't adding to the housing supply for ownership, it's subtracting from it, permanently shifting those houses from the ownership market into the corporate rental sphere forever. They are building a new asset class, a permanent rental generation.
Home ownership is something that we may be looking as something that was a nice idea once.
Yeah, it could be a lost generation who never get to own their own home, and more importantly, can never dream of owning their own home.
And they are doing it with breathtaking speed and capital that everyday investors simply cannot compete with. The future they are building is one of corporate landlordism on an unprecedented scale, fundamentally altering the landscape of UK home ownership. And again, they are being quietly enabled from Section 24, which pushed out the amateur landlords and created a vacuum for these giants, to the relentless upward pressures of rents driven by chronic supply shortage that the government's 300,000 homes a year target consistently fails to meet. The window for individual investors to secure their financial future through property, to get on the property ladder or build a portfolio, is slamming shut. And BlackRock's property buying spree is just one piece in a much larger, more alarming strategy for total market dominance. They are executing a nationwide cradle-to-grave investment strategy, which means investing in our entire ecosystem of life by owning major builders, energy utilities, telecoms providers, water companies, and much more. This strategy is terrifyingly simple. It begins with the cradle. BlackRock, as a top shareholder in Taylor Wimpey and Barratt Developments, profit when your house is built. They then use their own funds to aggressively buy up existing housing stock, constricting supply and making home ownership less attainable, pushing more people into the rental market they increasingly dominate. They are also major investors in National Grid and SSE, so they profit from the energy that powers your home. They hold significant stakes in Thames Water and Severn Trent, profiting from the water you drink. They are key shareholders in BT and Vodafone, monetizing the data you use. They even have vast holdings in B&Q's owner Kingfisher and the raw material suppliers, capturing your spending on every maintenance and improvement. Your entire life, from the home you live in, to the utilities you depend on, to the goods you buy to maintain it, is being consolidated into a single perpetual income stream. Your essential monthly outgoings are their reliable quarterly dividends. This is the endgame for institutional investment. A future where you don't own your house. I feel there's two crossroads here. Road 1 is fighting the system they are creating, join protests and demand political change. And Road 2 is playing the game and following the money. You can stand and fight, seeing this not as a market trend, but as a moral crisis, a modern enclosure act. The goal is collective action, to join tenant unions like Acorn in orchestrating rent strikes, to protest with the ferocity of the 2010 student tuition-free protests, or the 2019 XR London blockages. The target is political, to demand a super tax on corporate landlords, or an outright ban, using the same playbook that led to the 1990s poll tax riots. A definitive victory where mass non-payments and fierce protests brought down a government policy. This is a fight to redefine a home from a financial instrument back to a place to live. It is a noble, necessary battle and is the only force that has ever truly bent the arc of history towards justice. However, you must confront a brutal reality. This fight isn't against the financial establishment itself. BlackRock isn't a company. It is the market. Its close network runs central banks, mainstream media, all financially tied to rising asset prices. The system isn't just rigged, it's fortified. History shows us that housing protest, however righteous, often fails to move the market. This is the pragmatic truth. You can protest now, and in 5 years, despite all your efforts, house prices will almost certainly be higher. You can win a small policy concession, but the fundamental wealth gap will have widened. The immense power of the opposition means choosing only protest is a huge gamble. You risk sacrificing your personal financial future for a collective victory that may never happen, leaving you permanently priced out of the housing market. And for the second option, is following the big money. This is arguably the most positive play an individual can make. It's a decision to stop fighting and to individually financially benefit by leveraging their trillion-dollar gravitational pull to your own advantage, by mirroring their strategy of acquiring appreciating assets with leveraged capital in a market they are deliberately engineering to inflate, and using the system's own rules to build a fortress of generational wealth that might otherwise be completely inaccessible in a few years. You do this because you are finally accepting the brutal calculus. No one is coming to save you. The government that created the systems through policies and deregulations will not be the ones to fix it.
Serco, who house asylum seekers, are rubbing their hands together because they can make lots of nice money by housing asylum seekers. So, having a nice flow of asylum seekers is good for Serco, who are 8% owned by BlackRock. And Keir Starmer has had lots of meetings with BlackRock since he came to power in 2024. They would want legislation such as increased stamp duty for landlords and the Renters' Rights Bill, basically motivating landlords to sell up. They would also want a cost of living crisis going on, so lots of British people couldn't buy those homes to live in. And they've got both.
The housing protests, however righteous, have not stopped house prices from soaring year after year. You cannot trust a collective to secure your child's future or protect them from a lifeline of paying rent to these very corporations. This play is not about idealism, it's about insulation. However, this comes with profound moral cost. By doing so, you are becoming a microscopic cog in the very machine you claim to despise, actively participating in financialization of housing and contributing to the inflation of prices that will inevitably price out the person behind you, making you complicit in perpetuating the crisis and prioritizing your own escape over the collective good. So that's the choice. That's the real ugly, no good answer decision the younger generation and Britain faces today. I'm not here to tell you which one is right, that's individual to you. I want to show you the architecture of modern wealth in Britain and the unseen truths the mainstream media won't cover out of fear of losing corporate access, retaliation, or alienation. I'm only going to give one piece of advice. That inaction is the only wrong answer. To hope blindly that it all works out. You need to take control of as much as you can, because they are trying to strip that away from every single British person today.